The global temperature has dropped sharply for more than 10 days, and netizens in the north and south are still arguing about which is colder. It was not until the heavy snow blocked the door and the temperature continued to remain at -40 degrees, and all industries could not work that people realized, the end of the world is coming. I should thank my fiancé's mother for despising me as a girl from the countryside. The dowry my parents saved for me is enough for my family to eat delicious food and drink spicy drinks to get through the difficulties. I don't know what kind of gods Liang Chen has offended recently. The temperature suddenly dropped from 27 degrees to below zero. Because he was used to the temperature in the south, the sudden drop in temperature made my fiancé Liang Haibo quit his job. I felt a little uncomfortable after hearing this. A grown man quit his job because of the cold. It would be a joke if it got out. But he has always been so arbitrary and never discussed anything with me. If it weren't for the fact that we have been together since college, I might have broken up a long time ago. Thinking that I took the annual leave to go to his house for the new year to discuss marriage, I held back my anger. Instead, he took it too far. It's so cold. Not only do I not want to go out to work, I'm tired of living in this rental house. If we had bought a house before, we wouldn't have to suffer the cold here. A year ago, Liang Haibo suggested that I borrow money from my family and add the money I saved over the years to buy a house as a down payment, but I didn't agree. Today, he had an excuse and threw a tantrum. I was too lazy to pay attention to him, and while sorting out the gifts for his house, I replied, "Be careful, there are gifts for your family inside." When he heard about the gifts, his eyes lit up and he came over attentively. When Liang Haibo saw me take out the new down jacket I bought for his mother, he said dissatisfiedly, "That's it." My mother said yesterday that Aunt Wang's daughter-in-law bought mink fur for her mother-in-law. "If you take a down jacket, my mother will lose face." I said angrily, "Mink fur? Why don't you buy it for her?" In fact, I don't really want to go to his house for the new year. After all, it's stupid to go to someone else's house and spend the new year there instead of going back to my own home. But I can only talk about marriage during the annual leave. This is also the helplessness of working dogs. Liang Haibo smiled and coaxed me, "Baby, what are you talking about? I will marry you. For me, just be wronged for a little while and buy her a mink fur." My salary has always been higher than his. Over the years, he has been spending my money when he doesn't have enough money. Now, he is addicted to spending money and spends it whenever he opens his mouth. I rolled my eyes at him and said unhappily, "You can take it or not, this down jacket is also from a big brand. If you don't want it, I'll return it." Liang Haibo knew that I was always generous, so he said, "Don't return it, just leave it like that." The wind outside blew violently on the glass window, and the blizzard made a creepy sound, which gave me goosebumps instantly. I was secretly worried. To be honest, you don't understand the horror of the power of nature if you haven't experienced it. The temperature has dropped strangely. If you don't know, you might think it's the end of the world. Liang Haibo said casually, and then fell asleep. What I was worried about was whether the flight tomorrow morning could still depart. As it turned out, the flight was not available, so I had to take the train instead. The lowest temperature during the day was -36 degrees Celsius, and the nights these days were around -45 degrees Celsius. The weather forecast kept reporting that this was the coldest year in the world. It's rare event in a century. I was speechless, as I encountered many rare things that only come once in a century. I hope my sheep and cattle can hold on. Because my parents heard that he was interested in getting married, they had already prepared my dowry. My hometown is in the pastoral area, and my dowry includes 3,000 sheep and 1,000 cattle. In order to make the wedding look good, my parents did not sell their livestock before the new year. The temperature in Liao's mother's house is very low. Although there is central heating, it is also a drop in the bucket in the extremely cold weather. She was reluctant to turn on the electric heater, so she could only wear an old cotton jacket in the house. After taking the gift I bought, she actually sneered at my brand down jacket of more than 3,000 yuan. "Isn't this the down jacket with free shipping for 99 yuan on the internet? I tell you, this coat is not warm at all." I took it back. "Auntie doesn't like it. I will go to the mall to return it." When she heard the mall, she took it back again. She looked at the trademark on the bag carefully and scanned it with her mobile phone, then said, "You know, we city people don't like to visit relatives from the countryside, even though you have also been to college and have a job in the city. I have to make it clear first, there is no such thing as giving a bride price in the city." Liang Haibo smiled and said, "Mom, Shengxi's father said that marrying a daughter is not selling a daughter. They don't want that. Their hometowns all give a lot of money to their daughters as dowries." Liao's mother's eyes lit up again, and she said arrogantly, "A few tens of thousands of yuan is a lot of money for country people. If you don't have a dowry of 200,000 yuan, don't marry to the city and embarrass yourself." Seeing my face change, Liang Haibo quickly grabbed my hand. "Shenshen, I heard from your uncle's arrogant tone that 200,000 should be stable. For the sake of our little family, you do your uncle's work. What's wrong with me not being able to get married?" I turned and left, and Liao's mother said sarcastically, "Country girl, you are so rude, you dead child, just don't listen to your mother. You must meet Aunt Zhao tomorrow to introduce you to that girl." I suddenly remembered the down jacket. Why should she get it cheaply? I turned around and was about to come back to get it. Liao's mother sneered, "Have you thought it through? Let me tell you, unless you transfer 200,000 cash to my card tomorrow, don't even think about marrying my son." I picked up the fruit knife on the table and poked a dozen holes in the down jacket. The high-quality down flew all over the room, and Liao's mother cried immediately, "This prodigal son, why did you poke her with such a good down jacket, Haibo? Beat this shameless man for me." Liang Haibo, a mama's boy, raised his hand to me without thinking. Can I afford that? When I was in my hometown, I could skin a sheep in 10 minutes. The strength in my hands is not blown. I slapped him twice with my backhand, and he was stunned, slammed the door and left. Damn it, I don't do targeted poverty alleviation. Behind me, I could still hear Liang Haibo swearing at me. I tell you, once you leave my house today, don't even think about getting back together with me. I don't want you anymore. Funny. I wish I could break up with him. I've been disliking him for a long time. After leaving Liao's house, the northwest wind wrapped in snow and smoke made me shiver. My dad has already agreed to my marriage with my boyfriend who I've been dating for several years, but he suddenly changed his mind. I'm afraid he'll scold me, so I'd better wait and see. In extremely cold weather, life in the city is not easy either. My family either has frozen water pipes or the glass is about to break. The cold wind blew in the middle of the night, as if the world was going to be destroyed. I decided to just go back to my hometown to spend the winter before coming back to work. When I drove to the county town, the heavy snow had already covered the wheels, and the snow removal workers were cleaning day and night, barely keeping the main streets accessible. I was afraid that my house would be frozen in by the snow and I would never be able to eat the familiar junk food again. I bought a whole truck of self-heating hot pot, snail noodles, and pickled pepper chicken feet snacks at the nearest supermarket in the county. Maybe because I bought so much, the boss chased me out. Little girl, today's event, buy more and get more. It's probably because the industry is in a downturn, everyone is shutting themselves in, and the boss also wants to finish work early and go home for the new year, so he held an event. I didn't think about it. Can you deliver the goods? Yes. I transferred 3,000 yuan and gave 500 yuan and bought another truck of snacks. It was too cold, and I accidentally bumped into a man when I went out. I'm sorry. Although it was my fault, his body was so hard that it hurt me. I couldn't help but rub my nose and slowly raised my head. He was so tall. He must be about 1.8 meters tall, and most importantly, he was very handsome. The kind of handsome that looks decent. The air of the hall. You have a nosebleed. Me. I wanted to explain that it was because I was a little irritated recently, and this was definitely not a case of being infatuated with someone. Would he believe it? Unexpectedly, the other party handed over a piece of paper very gentlemanly. Be careful. Ah. Okay. I was embarrassed and a little annoyed. He helped me pick up the snacks on the ground, and a lot of pickled pepper chicken feet fell out of them. This is my favorite thing to eat. He raised his eyebrows and hesitated to speak. I felt a little embarrassed. At this time, the boss ran out. I'm sorry, Mom, your ranch address is a bit remote, and it may take 3 days to deliver the goods. You see? His face was full of words that he didn't want to return the money to me. Are you from the ranch? The handsome man asked. Yes. I nodded ignorantly. Need to take something back? Yes. I continued to nod. It's okay to be handsome, but the voice is so nice. It's really a rich and beautiful woman in the world. I want to go too. Just like that, he was shocked to see the stocker delivering more than 20 bags of supermarket-specific snacks. I was embarrassed and wanted to escape from outer space. There are many people at home. On the way, I learned that his name was Liu Feng. He was the kind of man who didn't talk much. Squeak. I stopped the car suddenly. What's wrong? He got out of the car and asked me. The heavy snow was howling and blowing, as if it was going to blow people away. I was almost blown away by the wind with my weight of 1.65 meters and 100 kilograms. He grabbed my wrist, which was warm. He domineeringly pulled me into his arms and protected me with a down jacket. This feeling was very stable. My heart was pounding, and I shouted loudly in the blizzard. It seems that the car in front has stalled. He went to check and came back. The car is out of power. I was kind-hearted and said without thinking, I have enough gas, I can charge it. The coal seller thanked me profusely. Not only did I save him from waiting for rescue in the freezing cold of more than 40 degrees below zero, but I also bought him a large truck of coal. The main reason is that we use coal in our pastoral area, so we will buy it from anyone. You are very kind. Liu Feng looked at me and said with a smile. I wanted to say something, but I felt my teeth trembling with cold. It was really too cold and the wind was strong. He pushed me into the car. Drive slowly and be careful. After half an hour, we finally got home. He took the trouble to help unload the goods and told me before leaving, it will continue to snow heavily recently. If it is not necessary, you can go out less. After that, he left. It's quite heartwarming. But how did he know that it would continue to snow heavily? My family contracted a grassland not far from the highway. In addition to the tents that can be moved at any time, there is also a fixed bungalow. My parents saw me coming back alone at this time, and guessed that the marriage was aborted. My father sighed and said, did my tough daughter scare off the son-in-law? I drank the wine from my hometown in big gulps and said proudly, he is not worthy. Dad, is that a new boyfriend just now? Don't dream, the city man seems to be a doctoral student. Your daughter is just a bachelor's degree graduate, don't think about it. It turned out that my father saw it all. I knew that Liu Feng was a doctor, or I accidentally saw it on a certificate in his car. The best young man in the country, wow, so amazing. Compared with him, I am so far behind. Damn, the day after the breakup, the classmates group spread that Liang Haibo and Yan Jiao from the art department of our school had a successful blind date. It was really a seamless connection at the speed of light. Many classmates said sarcastic words, just to laugh at me. I laughed. But I wasn't angry. Because he really wasn't that important in my eyes. The phone rang suddenly. When I saw it was Liang Haibo, I wanted to press the hang-up button, but somehow the call was connected. Chengshang, you are a country bumpkin, you are not worthy of me at all. Now I am with the school beauty Yan Jiao Jiao, you should regret it. Before he could finish, I yelled at the phone, I regret not dumping you earlier, useless man who lives on Gigolo, get out of here, I threw all your stuff downstairs, I rented the house, if you dare to come in again, I will sue you for trespassing. I hung up the phone after yelling. Soon, Liang Haibo took a photo of him carrying a suitcase home in the snow on his moments, and Yan Jiao Jiao interacted with him and said, it was pitiful. The two of them even kissed. It really made people want to vomit. I simply blocked all his phone and WeChat accounts, and I have peace from now on. There was a shout outside. Dad came into my bedroom in the snow and wind. Daughter, did you buy coal? It turned out that the elder brother came to deliver the coal. I put on a thick coat and ran out. The pastoral area was open and several degrees colder than the city. I was beaten through as soon as I went out. I was freezing cold. My elder brother smiled and left the coal. He also gave me a few boxes of beer as a token of gratitude. Thanks to you and your boyfriend, otherwise I would have frozen to death on the road. Boyfriend. My pupils were shocked. I wanted to explain, but before I could, my elder brother waved his hand and left first. It was more than 40 degrees below zero outside. The car had been parked for a long time and couldn't start. My father looked at me with a sly smile, so there is such a magical journey on the road. Ha ha ha. Me. But he turned around and looked at the 30 tons of coal I brought home, and complained helplessly, you are really close to each other. We bought too much coal and miscellaneous snacks. It turned out that my father knew I was coming back and made a large purchase. We smiled at each other, walked in with our arms around each other, drank beer, and ate barbecue. There is plenty of coal in the pastoral areas. Coal is piled up in the yard like a mountain and can be taken whenever you need it. As for so many snacks, they are placed in the shed and frozen on the spot, so there is no need to worry about them going bad. Anyway, there is only one family in our area hundreds of miles away, so we are not afraid of losing things at all. I thought minus 40 degrees Celsius was the limit, but I didn't expect that after several heavy snowfalls, the temperature did not rise but dropped again. The sky was drizzling. With heavy snow and the wind was howling. If I were not in an endless plain, I would have snowed 2 people high by now. It seems that Liu Feng is right. This day is suitable for staying at home. I just don't know how he is. I bought an extra wool blanket for my family, and I felt a little warmer. Bang! The wind was howling outside, and I heard a loud noise and woke up suddenly. Dad went out to see that it turned out that the roof of my warehouse had frozen and cracked. It's too cold. I felt my blood was freezing after 2 minutes of being outside. It's so scary. I couldn't see people's faces within 1 meter. After my father described it like this, I got goosebumps all over my body. He took my hot water bag and it took a long time for him to recover. It's now minus 45 degrees during the day. As for the night, there is not even an accurate number. It seems that the staff of the weather station only have so many thermometers. They dare not report the real number, otherwise it will definitely cause panic. Dad said, I sneered, then the heavy snow blocked the mountain and the door, so why don't we panic? In the group of owners of rental houses in the city, I saw that many people's windows were broken by stones blown by the strong wind. The strong wind whistled into the door, and the building area was paralyzed and could not move. The window frames that kept flapping no longer looked as gorgeous as before, and they were so dilapidated that it was chilling. The city's tap water pipes had long been frozen and cracked, and water was all dependent on melted snow. Fortunately, there was plenty of snow. As for heating, after the heavy snow cut off transportation, heating basically depends on shivering. Once the building loses central heating, it is better to add more coal to our small bungalow, at least the bedroom is not cold. Bang! Before I could feel happy, the power went out. The only small solar radiator in the house stopped working immediately, and I felt the temperature in the house dropped rapidly. Achoo! Dad sneezed, probably because he was frozen when he went out to check the warehouse last night. Girl, I feel a little cold and a little hot. Can I have a cold? My heart skipped a beat. If you catch a cold at this time, it is tantamount to a matter of life and death. I took the initiative to ask him to purchase some medicines, heating pads, and hot water bottles, otherwise if I have a headache or fever, I guess I can only wait to die. Along the way, I saw countless refugees, dragging their families, their faces were frozen purple, and they lay on the ground and swallowed a mouthful of snow when they were thirsty. Plop. Suddenly, a person fell in front of my car. Hurry up. Someone's dead. Everyone was watching. I was a doctor, so I got out of the car and gave first aid. This person weighed more than 200 pounds, and I couldn't lift him. I could only turn over and sit on him to do CPR, 1, 2, 3 times. He showed no signs of waking up, and I was numb from the cold. Oh, this is the 10th person to die on the way. Not only will we have no home, but we will also have this moment. I don't know who said it, and everyone sobbed. My heart ached. This was not the first person to die in my hands, but it was definitely the one that hurt me the most. Frozen to death. I felt like I was in an ice cellar, and my heart was cold. The sound of 120 was blaring. The doctor came and announced that the treatment was ineffective and the person was carried away. I was called aside. Are you a doctor? Yes. He may have seen some signs of first aid, so he asked this. Would it be convenient for you to join our rescue team? I came out to buy cold medicine and a hot pack. Why was I forced to serve as a soldier? And I just broke up with my boyfriend, and I didn't even take my hard-earned annual leave. I My heart hurts. But the other party told me, are you here to buy medicine? How do you know? I suddenly realized that now you need to fill out a form and queue up to buy medicine, otherwise you can't get it at all. When the cold wave hits and the temperature plummets, the pharmacy is in chaos, and the country has already taken action to rectify it. He saw my purchase order. Join us, there are privileges. I suspect he is seducing me. An hour later, I put on the rescue suit and almost broke my legs for a few boxes of cold medicine. I also witnessed with my own eyes the suffering of human beings after the temperature dropped. Old and young people couldn't bear it, and countless people died. The hospital was full of frostbite and amputation. It was late at night. I came out of the emergency room. I had just amputated a leg for a patient. I felt that my neck was not my own and my hands were shaking. A team of people came out from the opposite side. I heard one of them say, something happened in the pastoral area. A tall and handsome man of more than 1.8 meters was paralyzed by the cold. I don't know if he is dead or alive. Go, pastoral area. More than 1.8 meters. Handsome guy? I rushed over without thinking, I'll help. All the way, I was thinking, is it Liu Feng? Although I only met this person once, I was inexplicably worried about him. Maybe the two of us shared the same hardships. Maybe the atmosphere in the car was too depressing. Someone joked, Chen Shen, you are so nervous, do you know him? I just pulled the corners of my lips and said nothing. When we arrived, it was already an hour and a half later. As it turned out, I thought too much. When I saw the unfamiliar face, I finally let go of my worry. But the person in front of me was only in his 20s, a living being, so I immediately joined the rescue. Avalanche in Xishan, there are still people inside, save them quickly, the man gasped for his last breath and squeezed my wrist tightly and shouted. His eyes were wide open, and his death was horrible, as if he had some unfulfilled wish. People died in my hands one after another, and I felt that I was about to become numb. When we arrived at Xishan, firefighters, guards, and even the army came. Hundreds of people were digging here. Frantically. People around were talking, why does it feel like the situation is very serious? Could it be that the identities of the people buried inside are not simple? I also felt something was wrong. Even the detector was brought up. I'll help. Not to mention that I was a little anxious waiting, just standing here would freeze me into an ice stick, it would be better to move, and it can also activate blood circulation and generate heat energy. My actions infected the people around me, and everyone started to help. I don't know what kept me swinging the shovel like crazy, until I dug out a thick piece of ice and heard someone groan inside. People are here. I don't know who shouted, and then the army and rescue workers came over. Then there was a familiar voice, save them first. It was Liu Feng. I squeezed in, and he saw me at the same time. Why are you here? Are you okay? We both asked at the same time, with a touch of concern in each other's eyes. It can be seen that there is a small cave here, which saved him, otherwise he would probably really die. In the hospital. I gave him an IV drip, and looked at his bruised arm, and couldn't help frowning. Fortunately, he is lucky and doesn't need amputation. How many days will it take to recover? There was a computer next to him with a lot of data on it. Perhaps because he was afraid of running out of power, he always used paper and pen to record. At least 3 days. I may not be as educated as him, but I can still see that he is a geologist. This is so cool. Finally, I know why he showed up in the pastoral area first, and told me that the heavy snow would continue, and asked me to keep warm. It turned out that the pastoral area is the most suitable place for refuge now. He went to survey the terrain and was trapped by an avalanche. The country attached great importance to him, so the army showed up. If we are familiar with each other, can we be discharged early? He looked up, and his humorous joke made me pause slightly. This man's smile is so handsome. Before I finished speaking, someone pulled me by the shoulder. It was Chen Haibo. He laughed and ridiculed me. Oh, Chen Shang is really you. Chen Haibo was carrying an IV bottle, and seeing that he was limping, he was probably hanging water for frostbite. You quickly look for men all over the world after leaving me. You really need love. You are so handsome, are you worthy? I clenched my fists tightly, afraid that if I opened my mouth, all my merits would be gone. It's not him who's chasing me, it's me who's chasing her, okay? Liu Feng stood up and protected me behind him. He was over 1.8 meters tall, more than half a head taller than Liang Haibo, and he looked very imposing. Besides, whether we are worthy or not is not up to you. As an ex-boyfriend, you should learn to shut up like a dead man. Well said. I almost applauded him in person. Okay, you're amazing. Liang Haibo was burning with jealousy, pointing at me and wanted to say something, but he was hindered by Liu Feng's imposing manner. Qinshen, I'm waiting to see the day when you get dumped, don't come back to beg me, He said this and ran away. I shouted, if I don't get married in this life, I won't even look back at you. Go to hell. I finally shouted out all the words I had been holding back, and I was in a good mood. I looked back at Liu Feng and felt a little shy. Just now, thank you for helping me out. He moved his lower lip, and his eyes fell on my hand. Did you hurt your finger? This was when I was digging in the snow mountain just now. I pulled it back as if I had been electrocuted. It's okay, just a minor injury. After saying that, I ran away like I was escaping. Lying in bed at night, I tossed and turned and couldn't sleep. What did he want to say? The next morning, I saw my father full of energy again, drinking warm milk, and listening to the TV station constantly promoting the protection of people's livelihood, society, and economy, and I began to worry. The temperature kept dropping, and it was almost minus 50 degrees in just 2 days. The ranch was closed. It was difficult for me to go out. Everyone is in this situation, so the hospital suspended work, and the country sent more capable and more regular military doctors to carry out rescue activities. As for my injured finger, I was not rescued and stayed at home on standby. Liu Feng was not an obedient patient either. He participated in geological exploration work the next day. The heavy snow blocked the mountains and roads, and people could not get in or out. Some people had already starved to death. All the armed police officers and soldiers gathered urgently to clear a life transportation road for the people. Unfortunately, this day was like a leak. It was clear here and rainy there. It was rounded up to a day of work in vain. Manpower will eventually run out, but God doesn't feel tired when it snows. What's scary is that not only is there heavy snow every day in the north, but even the temperature in the southern cities is below minus 30 degrees Celsius, and there is also a baptism of heavy snow every day. Even those who live in sea view rooms can enjoy the magnificent view of the Arctic Ocean without leaving their homes. Some people have taken photos of penguins in the sea near their homes, and some netizens in a good mood even joked, now penguins and polar bears will definitely be reunited through their own efforts. My university classmates who live in the city have complained that they used to eat monotonous meals 3 times a day. Now, they may not be able to eat a delicious meal in 3 days. Even the intimate couple photos that Liang Haibo disgusted me with in the group were pushed out of sight. Some people were upset and cursed. Liang Haibo, everyone is trying to survive. Are you sick? Who are you posting this rubbish to? I almost applauded when I saw a righteous classmate who was just talking on the internet. Liang Haibo probably didn't dare to fart because he was afraid of arousing public anger. Soon, the group was filled with food panic again. Even if the country intervenes to stabilize food prices, transportation will stop completely. No one knows how long the granaries in various places can support it. All cars broke down in this horrible weather, and people had to carry things on their shoulders and hands. Only the strongest person in the family could go out every 7 days to buy food, and they might not be able to buy enough rice and flour to make ends meet. As for what I ate, of course, meat. So many of my dairy sheep also couldn't stand the extreme cold, and some froze to death every few days. Fortunately, there are refrigerators everywhere now. After bleeding and peeling, they are wrapped in plastic cloth and won't go bad anywhere. Dad cooked a lamb spine hot pot, and we were sweating while eating it. This coal is just right. You did a great thing, my daughter. People around me are freezing to death, but I have 40 or 50 tons of coal, which is enough for our family to live warmly. I looked at the table full of meat and suddenly said, Dad, have you ever thought about bartering? What do you mean? Exchange our cattle and sheep for some vegetables. Otherwise, it's not good for the body to eat meat all the time. Okay, that's it. Occasionally, I would meet someone who would come over to buy meat in a horse-drawn sleigh without fear of the severe cold, and I would exchange it with him for some grain or cabbage. In such extreme weather, people have lost their absolute trust in currency. Places like ours have returned directly to the era of bartering. I feel that I have a special IQ in this area. With the formation of a mature bartering system, I made coats with the sheepskin and cowhide I peeled off. Although the appearance is not beautiful, it is really warm to wear. I had eaten all my junk food in the past 3 years. Now, like ordinary people, I am grateful to heaven and earth for having enough food and drink. However, in April this year, the surface of the earth showed signs of melting ice and snow for the first time. For the first time, the south saw the scene of grass growing and warblers flying, and many people were arranged by the country to live on the surface of the south. This included Liu Feng. Because I saw him in the personnel list, I felt indescribable in my heart. I clenched my fists and cried for a long time. My father sighed, it's over, my daughter is going to be heartbroken. This undoubtedly rubbed salt into my wounds, and I cried even harder. But the grassland woman can take it or leave it, and he has his responsibility to protect him, so I will just regard this unrevealed love as dead. Dad said, if you can't bear to leave, we will move our family to the city where he lives. No, they are old and it is not convenient to move. Moreover, this ranch is our root. I want to protect our home and livestock here. Everything here gave us a second life. Life is getting better, and we don't want to abandon this place. I prepared things for Liu Feng to leave. The wind outside is still biting. Although it is not that cold, I feel that my heart is colder than when it is minus 60 degrees. Many familiar people came to say goodbye to me, and I sent them off one after another. Chen Xiang. I saw Liu Feng. He had a dark stubble on his chin, which made him look more mature and charming. Are you leaving? I prepared some dry food and dried meat for you to eat on the road. The mountains are high and the road is long. Take care. I felt that my call was absolutely impeccable. But the reluctance in my heart was like a dam bursting, flooding. Boom. He tapped my forehead. Who told you I was leaving? You're not leaving? Did I read the document wrong? Of course, I opened this place. How could I leave? That's right. What will happen to the follow-up work after he leaves? I suddenly laughed again. I guess there was a mirror. I could see how silly I was now. He laughed too, and laughed happier than me. The veterans of the infrastructure team also stayed where they were and continued to expand the functions of the underground city in order to cope with various extreme situations in the future. Once an accident occurs, the underground city will naturally be reactivated to protect ordinary people who have no way out in the face of natural disasters and man-made disasters. After years of hard work, my family and I saved a lot of money but had nowhere to spend it. In the 4th year of extreme cold weather, spring came earlier, and the grassland once again regained its vibrant green. I can finally ride a horse and run freely on the grassland. Again, holding a lamb born in the sun, I was lying on the lawn, and the postdoctoral fellows who came to exchange ideas not far away were whispering. I never thought that Senior Liu Feng was so outstanding that he would take the initiative to stay in such a remote place to continue to do infrastructure work. If he could return to the south, he would definitely do a lot. I guess he is now rising step by step. He is at least a national-level veteran pioneer with countless honors and merits. My head was buzzing. I don't know how I got home. I don't even know that I went to Liu Feng's office. He was in a small meeting, and when he saw me like a zombie, I didn't know what I said to those clerks, so he sent me away. Shinshen, what's wrong with you? Where do you feel uncomfortable? He asked eagerly. Liu Feng, tell me the truth. Was it your decision not to leave here and return to the south, or was it the decision made by the higher-ups? I want to hear the truth. I emphasized again and again. You know everything? He smiled, his eyes bright. I punched his chest. You are stupid. He hugged me tightly. No matter how high the honor is, it is not as important as you in my heart. Besides, I can better protect you and your family here. I was moved, so moved. Liu Feng, will you marry me? No, will you marry me? He shook his head. Don't want to? I was stunned, so embarrassed, and wanted to dig a hole again. How can a woman propose marriage, especially I have prepared it? He took out the pickled pepper chicken feet that he had prepared long ago. Chen Shen, will you marry me? I punched him hard in the chest. You bastard. This guy still remembers the first time we met. I bought so many pickled pepper chicken feet when I was shopping, and he remembered it in his heart. Simple and unpretentious, I like it. Reluctantly agreed. The news of our marriage soon spread throughout the ranch. Dad was so excited that tears welled up in his eyes. Finally, someone is willing to marry my daughter. I was speechless. Is there such a father? Who has set his eyes on a certain young man and can no longer tolerate others? Dad. I have wanted to call you for a long time. My emotions are numb. I dare not speak first. Don't worry, after Shenxing is handed over to me, I will protect her with my life until my death. Don't talk about me. My dad was moved to tears. He kept patting Liu Feng on the shoulder and said, good boy, I didn't misjudge you. On the wedding day, the ranch spontaneously organized a celebration. This extremely grand wedding banquet was the result of everyone's efforts. It looked like a wedding banquet, but in fact it was everyone's vision of the future. They wanted to get rid of bad luck and have a happy mood. My dad excitedly hugged Liu Feng into the tent and drank until now. We country girls who have not seen much of the world admire the heroes who are brave and responsible the most. He can carry the elderly, the weak, women and children of the whole province on his shoulders, and will not consider his personal problems until peace is truly achieved. Not only does my father like such a man, I am also willing to live a good life with him. Beautiful. Love means that we have gone through thousands of hardships and finally chose to be with each other unswervingly. There are basically no clothes on the market that can withstand the severe cold of more than 40 degrees below zero. Even if special units have such ultra-low temperature protective clothing, they cannot be transported in. The sheepskin coat I made is, once again on the stage. Even if it is not perfect from today's perspective, at least it is warm to wear a cotton-padded jacket inside and outside. Dad looked at the room full of food and drink, and there were more coal, medicines, and supplies. He clapped his hands and almost danced with joy. Daughter, you are so smart. My phone beeped a few times. It was Liu Feng. He always sent me some caring text messages recently. Not many words every day. Today's message is, are your fingers feeling better? People are like words, quite cold, but words are like people, with warmth. I looked at the little power on my phone and sent a message to Liu Feng, take care of yourself. If you have any difficulties, come to the ranch to find me. You have been to my house. He replied, okay. I couldn't help but smile. Dad found some clues. It seems that my daughter is getting married. Nonsense. I went back to the room. The country has been shut down for more than a month, but the snow still shows no sign of stopping. Many people who are desperate have started the zero-yen shopping mode. Although the few places that can guarantee the supply of food only open at 11 o'clock in the morning, the food is often sold out by people at 12 o'clock. In order to provide meat for the people in the city, the country has temporarily established countless sled transport teams. All the cold machines are out of service. Horses, sled dogs, and even larger dogs are assigned to the dog sled team and temporarily take on the heavy responsibility of transportation. In addition to the grasslands with the sound of wind and snow, you can see dog sleds galloping by every day, or horses pulling sleds and running vigorously. The livestock that my family didn't sell before the new year has doubled in value at this juncture. I asked the sled team to bring a leg of lamb to my best friend in the city, and that guy actually kowtowed to me in front of the camera. Wow, Shenshen, you are the best girl in the world. Liang Haibo, that idiot, is not worthy of you at all. You are beautiful, kind, and capable. You will definitely find someone better in the future. Don't mention him, it's bad luck. I didn't show any pain. My best friend raised her eyebrows. No, you seem to be in high spirits. Is there something wrong? Has this been discovered? No, I denied it flatly and hung up the phone quickly, my heart pounding. Is Liu Feng considered my situation? On the third day, I received a return gift from my best friend, which turned out to be bean sprouts that she grew hydroponically at home. In the words of my best friend, those were bean sprouts that she grew in her bed. Eat them with care and don't waste them. She kept telling me so many things. It can be seen how much green vegetables are cherished now. I understand. I will definitely eat them well and use the best ingredients. I agreed happily. Shenzhen is the best, Chu. She hung up the phone because she felt uncomfortable and wanted to rest. This reminded me that I had dozens of tons of coal in my hand, and the temperature in the house was enough to grow some vegetables to improve the diet. Everyone was looking forward to the temperature warming up as usual after the spring festival. For the day of spring and blooming flowers, they tried their best to grit their teeth and persevere. Unfortunately, during the spring festival, a cold air came from Siberia to greet the new year, and the temperature in many northern provinces reached -55°C. The highest daytime temperature in many southern provinces was also -35°C. Many old, weak, sick and disabled people did not survive the spring festival. Central heating companies in many places in the north declared bankruptcy, and there was a large-scale power outage across the country. Now there is no electricity. Daughter, you seem to be unable to stare at your phone. Dad joked with me again to relieve the current panic depression. I don't know how long we can last, alas. Even my father began to sigh. I was nervous, but I also felt hopeful when I thought of the efforts of geologists like Liu Feng. Although the country has been boosting morale and there are still a lot of grain reserves in granaries across the country, everyone is obviously panicking. There is no hope for spring plowing. How long can the reserved grain last? We might starve to death. In this extreme weather, we can only live one day at a time. Everyone has begun to feel negative. No hope for the future. In addition to allocating manpower and material resources to fight the extreme cold weather every day, the country also needs a group of literati and experts to preach to let the depressed masses ignite hope for life. But the people who can really solve the root cause of the problem are scientists like Liu Feng and others. Soon, the proposals of scientific personnel were approved. All personnel began to move to tropical areas to prepare for planting food. The people ignited hope. Yes, we have a lot of arable land in tropical areas. These are all bought by the country when it was helping the poor. Finally, they are put to use. The place where there was no grass and trees before, now the global temperature has suddenly dropped, and the tropical areas have become a hot spot. Everyone is scrambling to go there, but because of the special situation, there are requirements. We need farmers, lots of farmers, and experienced farmers are preferred. Originally, merchants were the best, but now they are farmers. The whole identity has changed. Farmers are no longer at the bottom, but their status has risen. Only those who have food and can grow food can be called fathers. People with agricultural production experience are given priority, preferably farmers who have arable land at home before the extreme cold weather comes. Now that transportation is inconvenient and the climate is extreme, they are allowed to go abroad with their families to develop agriculture. I thought this was a special response policy for an extraordinary period, but I didn't expect that when this method came out, the first thing that became lively was the dating website. My father shouted after hearing the news, Shenshen, why don't I sign you up too? Why? Go to Africa to farm? But I'm a herdsman, and a little error can lead to 1,000 miles. I didn't care, and my father winked. If I don't help you, when can you get married? Then my marriage announcement may have been leaked. Not only have farmers become popular, but herdsmen seem to be following closely. I don't know what's wrong with my weird ex-boyfriend, Liang Haibo. He called me 6 or 7 times, but I didn't answer. The phone rang again at this moment. My big orange cat was lazily snoring on the small cow. Its paw pad scratched, and Liang Haibo's voice came out, Shenshen baby, I knew you couldn't bear to reject me so many times. I saw your marriage announcement. Now my mother agrees that I will marry a girl from the countryside. Let's go get the marriage certificate as soon as possible. My mother said that she doesn't want a dowry of 200,000 yuan, but just wants to take us to a warmer place. I slapped the big orange cat hard, and it was in pain and meowed. Liang Haibo continued to whine, Shenshen, people can't even afford to raise a cat now, and you still raise a cat. It would be great if you had those foods to support your family. I coughed and said, it's the farmers who go abroad to grow crops, not the herdsmen. You called the wrong number if you want to sell yourself for a chance to go abroad. Also, I not only raise cats, but also dogs. There are livestock at home, but I don't raise animals. Liang Haibo's voice came from the phone, I know you deliberately pissed me off for dumping you, so you found another man to piss me off. I asked about it later. In fact, since you left, I miss you so much that I can't sleep every day. I have hung up the phone. I wondered why I was so blind at the beginning. I opened a small hot pot to relieve my irritability. After eating it hot, my father had just filled the stove in my cowshed with coal. The weather was really too cold. Fortunately, when preparing the delivery room for the cattle and sheep for the winter, it was built very large, and there was a stove and exhaust pipe inside to keep the temperature above zero. My family and I took out all the plastic sheets and felt mats, and reinforced the house and the livestock several times. I unexpectedly found that some grass sprouts appeared on the mud ground in the livestock house. Although we herders are not good at planting, my parents and I still dug out some soil one shovel at a time and prepared a greenhouse room indoors due to the environment. Various voices emerged on the internet. Experts said it was because of the previous volcanic eruption that too much volcanic ash gathered in the atmosphere, so it was difficult for the sun's heat to be transmitted, which led to the global cooling. There are also astronomy and geography enthusiasts who inferred that it is because the Earth is getting farther and farther away from the sun. There are also Enthusiastic netizens who speculated that it must be the unknown debris in the universe that blocked the heat conduction between the Earth and the Sun. Anyway, for ordinary people, it is too cold. Let alone March, the weather in April is still not warm. Fortunately, the heavy snow that lasted for several months stopped. During this period, I had no contact with Liu Feng, as if everything had suddenly returned to the beginning. Until one day. He called me and asked, "Are you looking for a marriage partner? Are you going to Africa? My father is up to no good." But he actually took the initiative to call me. "Are you not busy?" "Busy." He said it firmly. Oh, I didn't know what to say. "Have you chosen a partner?" He asked relentlessly. My heart was beating like a war drum, and I felt goosebumps all over my body. I shuddered. "Not yet." "Yeah." Suddenly, he seemed to be in a good mood. "I'll go to the ranch, and we'll meet soon." I was still confused when the phone was hung up. Then a team of young soldiers wearing thick cotton clothes came to the ranch and took on the task of transportation in the pastoral area. It can ensure that people here will not starve to death. After this spring festival, the city lost nearly 1/3 of its population. Under the arrangement of the state, the remaining personnel were all arranged to live in small-sized residences, and the state set up a heating station nearby to provide free heating. Netizens are missing the days when they wore short sleeves and ate cold drinks at home during the winter. Now, the indoor temperature can reach up to 6 or 7 degrees, so people will not be frozen to death. The temporary residence has an average area of 5 square meters per person, and it is warm to squeeze a little. At this time, Liu Feng appeared. He became the leader of this geological exploration. When we met again, he was full of elegance, as if he was surrounded by a halo. I felt that he was handsome against the light. He strode forward and hugged me in his arms. Long time no see. This hug was shallow and warm. Before I could come to my senses, he had already dragged me over and led me to meet the members of the team behind him. After introducing them one by one, I knew that their main purpose this time was to establish an investigation base to come up with a plan for dealing with the extremely cold weather. I warmly entertained him, threw away the impurities in my mind, in case he mistakenly thought I was a womanizer, and tried to maintain the boundaries of friendship. Everyone had a rare good time and drank too much, but he was the only one who was sober and still working hard under the candlelight. His slender and strong body seemed to carry huge energy. I was influenced and took out some of my ability to facilitate their work. My father asked me, "How is this? Assist?" I rolled my eyes at him. Liu Feng took people to dig everywhere during the day, and I would prepare meals when he came back at night. There was a momentary illusion that I almost regarded him as a family member. In the blink of an eye, it was June. I dared to wear a full set of cotton clothes and stroll outdoors for a while. The food and vegetables produced by the indoor greenhouse, built by my family, improved our dining table. Liu Feng seemed to have become a little fat after being fed by me, and his colleagues joked, "I don't have the blessing of a workaholic like Liu Feng," I found. Then he was dragged away by Liu Feng and continued to work. I smiled behind him with my lips pursed. Although the temperature has warmed up a bit, only the south has just returned to above 0 degrees. The north is still covered with a large area of snow. The population has dropped sharply, and the food pressure has been alleviated. The compatriots who farm abroad have sent back good news. Although their spring wheat production cannot increase, at least they can have a certain harvest. I don't even need experts to predict. Now I know that this June may be the coldest June I have ever experienced, but compared with the future, it should be relatively warm. This nominal summer, our pastoral area is very busy. One day, Liu Feng came back with a happy look on his face. Shan, don't worry, my official document has been approved." A while ago, he found that while the temperature was warming up to near 0 degrees, he started digging caves and building a human-like survival base underground, which had a very good effect. After reporting to the higher authorities and getting approval, he was ready to start the big project. "Great, then I will organize the herdsmen to help, move faster, and quickly move the living quarters when the extreme cold comes." "Okay." At this moment, he smiled as pure and clean as a child. I suddenly felt that it was not unreasonable to look at Liang Haibo disgustingly before, because he only had money in his eyes, and it was the money that he took from me. Everyone acted together, and the speed was very fast. It took only 1 month to build the city underground, and there was a preliminary prototype. Liu Feng slept no more than 3 hours a day. He was simply an Iron Man. The infrastructure team raced against time, competing for time with the cold air in Siberia, and wanted to expand the capacity to see if it could accommodate more people and reduce the burden on the city. Many people took advantage of this summer when they could barely go out to go south, but when they really got there, they found that there were not many job opportunities in the south, and the local government did not prepare corresponding housing for them. Each community was overwhelmed just to connect with the existing rental population. Due to financial and material constraints, they were not allowed to take care of more people across regions. Moreover, the temperature difference between the north and the south is getting smaller and smaller. The country does not recommend blind population movement, and it is convenient to arrange employment and rescue nearby. Fortunately, my family is large enough, and there are ready-made buildings to prevent wind and cold, and enough food and meat. The state rented my family's pasture to provide material support for the underground infrastructure team. Our family of 3 naturally could not take care of a construction team of more than 20,000 people, so we immediately recruited workers. Dad, give the elderly some job opportunities. They are hardworking and responsible. In fact, when I was a doctor during the rescue period, I saw that the elderly were troublesome when they brought their families with them. When the disaster came, the elderly who dragged their feet were the first to be thrown away, and I felt compassion. Okay, I'll listen to you. My father is kind and knows what I'm thinking. He knows better that if my body didn't allow me to do so and I almost lost my hands, I would still be more willing to participate in the rescue. This can be regarded as helping in a side way and making use of my remaining energy. After Liu Feng learned about it, he stared at me with deep eyes. Shen, you are very kind, even kinder than I thought. I blushed. Come on, I'll be your backup. I said this with great confidence, just because my family has tens of thousands of acres of grassland and tens of thousands of cattle and sheep. Okay. We smiled at each other. Many people from nearby counties and cities tried to come and apply for the job.it. Maybe that the construction near my home has started and the fuel is sufficient, which has caused the temperature of the surrounding surface to rise. In August, some grass actually grew on the grassland near my home. These grasses gave people hope. Perhaps there is still hope in this extremely cold hell. In order to prevent livestock from being stolen, our whole family followed the cattle and sheep during the extremely limited grazing time. In such an extreme environment, people may become thieves at any time. The cattle and sheep are locked in the pen, and there are dogs to watch over them. According to the planning of the underground city, a greenhouse planting area will be built first to provide artificial lighting, an area for cultivating grain, vegetables and fruits, and a pasture area to provide meat. Our family enjoys the right to contract the grassland, and most of the grazing area under the surface of my family's grassland in the underground city is still allocated to our family. As the weather turns cooler in September, the temperature begins to drop sharply again. Fortunately, the underground city has been developed almost completely at this time. Liu Feng announced as a representative, move the underground city. Everyone cheered and saw hope. In the evening, Liu Feng came. He and my father are already very familiar with each other. Uncle, I'm here to see if there is anything I can help with. My father is smart, and it is obvious that he came to find me. So he just found an excuse to go out and leave the house to the two of us. Suddenly a little embarrassed, I felt like I could dig a castle with my feet. Shen, the relocation will be carried out in an orderly manner tomorrow. Everyone will draw a number plate. Your family has a lot of things and abundant supplies, so leave some up there and take some down. You mean there's not enough space for my things down there? I asked. Puff. He couldn't help laughing, there's just too much. I was embarrassed too. I have a big family and a lot of wealth, there's nothing I can do. It seems a bit Versailles. Don't worry, there are special people responsible for managing these things up there, so they won't get lost. Okay. I believe what he said. Also, after we go in, we'll go to work, so I'm afraid we won't have many opportunities to meet in the future. I know that once he gets into work, he's very busy. It doesn't matter, I'll come to see you while you're busy. He smiled subtly. I'm much more bold, it's not a loss to hold on to someone who's got a big leg, it's easy to get things done with someone in the court, I'm not stupid. He couldn't help laughing softly. He looks so good when he smiles. Then you should hold on tight. The laughter spread out from the house, floating over the grassland with cold rain. The next day, we officially started moving. The orderly moving set up by Liu Feng really solved many problems, especially the lottery method, which avoided chaos. I was lucky and drew a good lottery. My father exclaimed, it's actually in the empty area next to the research station, not bad. I looked at Liu Feng, is it really such a coincidence? Just next to the research station? My family's livestock began to be transferred to their new homes underground, and the good days of me warming up by the fire at home and enjoying junk food were gone. In order to successfully survive the coming severe winter, I also had to take care of the newly born lambs and calves day and night, and help the family transfer the adult livestock to the underground pasture first, so that they could adapt to the new environment as soon as possible. I was busy working, and no one had time to say a word. But suddenly, there was chaos outside. My dad actually had time to fight with others. Many people advised, a good man should not fight with a woman. Why did you hit such an old woman? My father pointed at a 2-month-old lamb hanging on an iron rack in a secluded place and scolded, this woman stole my lamb. Who would kill such a young lamb for meat? What time is it now? Lambs are very precious. The woman was beaten by my father and her nose and face were swollen, but she still refused to give in. My son said that more than half of the cattle and sheep in this pasture are his. What's wrong with eating a little bit of your mutton? My son's girlfriend is a rich woman. This voice sounds familiar. Damn, it turned out to be Liang Haibo's prodigal mother. How did she get into the cooking team here? When the onlookers heard that she was not clean at this critical moment and stole a sheep, the amount of the crime was huge, and she was sent directly to the police station. This time, they didn't persuade my dad not to beat women. One kicked and the other punched, raising a lamb. How many people's food will it be? Such a greedy person, he deserves to be beaten. How can such a scourge have a job? I want to pull my dad back. That family is a dogskin plaster. I have blocked Liang Haibo. It has become a habit for him to call me with different phone numbers every day to ask for reconciliation. I don't answer unknown calls now. But what I didn't expect was that Liang Haibo was also in the workers' area of our pasture. He protected Lia's mother and said confidently, what do you know? Shen is my girlfriend. Many of the cattle and sheep in this pasture are her dowry. My mother eats my sheep to satisfy her cravings. What's it to you? My dad immediately heard Liang Haibo's voice. They had video chatted before. Seeing the behavior of the mother and son, my dad was so angry that he stepped forward and slapped Liang Haibo to the ground with a slap. You are worthy of marrying my daughter. Dream on. Although Liang Haibo is over 1.8 meters tall, my father has been herding for most of his life. With a height of nearly 2 meters and a weight of nearly 300 kilograms, Liang Haibo was instantly crushed into dust. Liang Haibo actually recognized my father and knelt down with his face covered, hugging my father's thigh. Uncle, you said that you would give a lot of money to marry your daughter. I came here to inquire and found out that you prepared 3,000 sheep and 1,000 cows for Shenshen as a dowry. We decided to get married in the first month of the year. I sneered, we decided to get married in the first month of this year, but you couldn't wait to get married in the last month of the year before last. Get out, you're kneeling on my land, and where you've been, it's easy for no grass to grow in the future. Young men in the crowd kept shouting, rich woman, support me, I am loyal and obedient. She also shouted to my father-in-law, I can endure hardships, look at me. My father said unhappily, I don't think you can endure hardships, but you can endure hardships. The foreman who recruited the mother and son of the Liang family to work was so scared that he was sweating all over his forehead in the cold weather. He said, I didn't know they were Shenshen's ex-boyfriends. I will send them to the police station now. How can they steal and kill the sheep of the herdsman? After driving away the two dirty hands and feet, the rest of the people had to continue working. It is impossible to really build an underground city in such a short time. The underground area can only guarantee people's basic lives and ensure that people will not freeze to death in the following extreme cold weather. I went to deliver something to Liu Feng at night and heard them in a meeting. I didn't hear clearly what they were talking about because it was snowing outside. When I went in, the chat was almost over. Several familiar clerks said hello and left. I brought some salt-baked lamb shanks. Eat some to warm yourself up. I was roasting charcoal. This was the one I sent last time. I felt that it was so cold here. It was not as warm as my home. Not only did my feet freeze, but I felt that the wind was blowing all over my body. He kindly handed me a cup of hot water. The warm water could drive away some of the coldness in my body. I shivered from the combination of cold and heat. He laughed softly and ate the lamb shanks in small bites. I thought that some people were so handsome when eating. Winter clothes have been developed and will be distributed to women and children one after another. I'm afraid that the scene will be chaotic by then. Try not to come out. So fast? The country is really fast, I have to give it a thumbs up. Okay, I'll listen to you. It seems that saying this has become my catchphrase. Liu Feng wanted to send me home, but I refused no matter what. You won't get lost. Just have a good rest and conserve your energy. I waved my hand and refused again. Liu Feng pursed his lips, silly woman. Me. He insisted on sending me home. I felt shivering all over from the cold. I couldn't help but rush over to hug him. I promised that at this moment I just wanted to give him courage and strength, come on. I didn't expect him to hug me tightly in his arms and let me go after a few seconds. There was an indescribable greed on his handsome face. Go back. I looked back every few steps. Dad, I feel relieved after reading it. I rolled my eyes and went into my room. Ha ha ha, my good daughter can finally make a good choice for dad. I muttered in my heart, dream on, could he possibly like me? In fact, I listened to Mu Qiang, especially because I was attracted to his personality with a calm and capable and domineering temperament. The latest cold-proof clothing has been developed to ensure that people can still carry out production activities on the surface when it is minus 60 degrees. I don't know how this news leaked. Suddenly, the door of Liu Feng's residence was crowded with people. In the low temperature of minus 55 degrees, everyone was so eager to get him to give them winter clothes to save their lives. Liu Feng, come out and hand over the winter clothes quickly. Don't think we don't know that this thing has been in your hands. Do you plan to use it privately or give it to the closest people first? Woo woo woo, please have pity on us. We are all freezing to death. My child has just been born and it's not even 2 months old. Cough cough cough, I'm going to die, give it to me quickly. The group of people cried loudly and squeezed the door frantically. Bang. Under their madness, the place where Liu Feng lived was completely destroyed. The mobile tent was not very strong to begin with. What are you doing? I rushed over as soon as I received the news. It's her name is Chen Shen, she is closest to Liu Feng, her family is large, Liu Feng must have given her all the winter clothes. A mob pointed at me and cursed. I got angry, if I have winter clothes, will I wear them after I die and get buried? The country has regulations, he knows the rules, you guys are all grabbing, how should he distribute them? Ask yourself, has Liu Feng improved your life since he came? Now everyone is selfish, no one is willing to give, there is no order, and the result will only get worse. I declare now that if anyone dares to be so unruly again, don't barter with our family anymore. My shouting suppressed everyone's anxiety a little. The most important thing is that they are afraid that I won't take out the food. You know, now everyone. In the ranch, if they want to survive, they really have to barter with my family. Humph, what is he planning? I tiptoed to squeeze in. It was strange, why didn't Liu Feng come out yet? Of course, we should focus on infants, women and children. Men should hold on first. Once the construction is done, everyone will be warm and will rush to themselves. If women and infants die, everyone will be exterminated. This is what Liu Feng meant. I just conveyed it. Okay, I'll believe you for now. The crowd came in a rage and left in a mighty manner. Liu Feng, everyone is gone, you come out. I flipped open a damaged door and went in. Liu Feng. When I saw the motionless purple-faced man on the bed, I screamed. He was a little frozen. Liu Feng, Liu Feng. I used my hands to check his heart rate, pulse, and breathing. No one saw how scared I was at the moment. I was shaking all over and couldn't help shaking. The numb nerves transmitted intensive pain. Fortunately, there is still a breath. What happened to this guy? Without communication equipment, I could only drag the man out of the freezing cold house. I really thank my dad for letting me learn to rob sheep and slaughter cattle since I was a child. I am stronger than most men, so I dragged Liu Feng, who was just lean and meaty, to my home. Oh my god. How can he be so frozen? Dad hurried to prepare hot towels, cashmere blankets, and hot water. Save him first. I am a doctor and I know these first aid measures very well. I quickly bathed him with warm water, not hot water directly, otherwise it would destroy the body's functions and would not help him but hurt him. I gave him some first aid medicine that I only had at home. He had lost the ability to swallow, so I could only give him mouth to mouth. There was no difference between men and women at this time, only life was the most important. I took a deep breath, took a sip of water, and gently pinched his lips. I have to admit that men have really good skin. My mind was shaken. After 7 or 8 hours of my care, he seemed to have a little reaction. Bang! The door was suddenly opened, and the staff rushed in. Is Captain Liu here with you? The next second, he almost dropped his jaw in shock. My dad came in sweating. I was so embarrassed. I wanted to escape from the earth, but I had to pretend to be calm. He is frozen. I am saving him. What? After the staff learned about it, he almost knelt down to thank me profusely. It's all my fault. It's too cold. I went to borrow charcoal yesterday. Captain Liu must have given it to me, and then the temperature dropped sharply. He fell asleep and froze like this. Liu Feng always treats people around him so selflessly. I am angry and speechless. The staff cried and felt like mourning. Liu Feng may have heard the voice and woke up faintly. How is it? Anywhere else do you feel uncomfortable? He smiled weakly. It seems that I almost froze to death. Did you save me? As he spoke, his eyes slowly moved down. I am a doctor. Don't think too much. There was an unnatural blush on his face. He wanted to move, but his body felt as painful as a needle prick. He staggered and fell into the bucket again. I quickly turned my back and threw the clothes to him, saying unhappily, if you do it again, you deserve to freeze to death. After a while, with the help of the staff, he put on his clothes, and I stuffed him with a few hot water bags. The staff kept making strange noises. I felt his pulse and it seemed that he was almost well. You need to rest for at least a month. That won't do. The staff regretted it after saying it. It's not that I don't let you rest, but now the winter clothes have to be issued, and the follow-up work has to continue. Without you, our work will stagnate. Liu Fa's ability is obvious to all. He looked at me. You stay with me and help me recover. I will go and command everyone to restore order. How about that? I owe you. I said I was unwilling, but I still followed his instructions, accompanying and taking care of him day and night. My father was so supportive. I could see his genuine happiness in his smile. Unlike when I was with the scumbag, he was full of sorrow. As soon as Liu Fa's selfless behavior spread, everyone admired him more than anything else. In an instant, the ranch was more united than any other place, and everyone listened to his horn and did whatever he told them to do, and they were full of energy. Women and children were given priority to enter the underground city in an orderly manner to avoid the severe cold. People engaged in planting and grazing entered the underground city in advance to ensure food and drink for everyone. Non-agricultural and animal husbandry production personnel, men aged 18 to 40, must stay on the ground to work with military and police soldiers. In order for everyone to survive, they need to collect energy, ensure ground transportation, and protect the safety of the domestic underground city. Of course, they also have their own holidays and can reunite with their relatives in the underground city. Everything Liu Feng set up is acceptable. He seems to have become the spiritual pillar of everyone, and seeing him is hope. The herdsmen and the people who fled here and were taken in would greet him warmly when they saw him. As for me, the big landlord, I would be respected even more, because I generously took out 5 cows to facilitate Liu Feng's work. Are you two doing recovery exercises again? Is Liu Feng better? I asked him to trot and jump every day, 200 each a day, and watch him do it. At first he didn't do it, but later he was forced to do it every day by me, which attracted many people to follow suit. It turned out that everyone's body was sub-healthy because of laziness, but now it seems that after experiencing a disaster, they all pay attention to exercise and health. Dr. Chen, you are really our great benefactor. I am always praised. She is not only kind, but also capable. Liu Feng praised generously. Everyone laughed. I was shy. I glared at him. Some unknown feelings were spreading. It was just October when our family and livestock moved into the underground pasture. It was originally a season of clear and crisp autumn weather, but the grassland was already covered with snow. Entering the underground city, I held my big orange cat and watched the cattle and sheep grazing leisurely on the artificial grassland. The sheepdog gradually adapted to the underground life and began to perform its work seriously. Now relying on the heat deep in the earth's crust, heating is no longer a problem, but the food crisis is still imminent. Snacks and junk food only exist in people's memories and in my inventory at home on the surface. Put on extreme cold work clothes. I want to go up and get some pickled pepper chicken feet and snack chips to satisfy my cravings. Everyone entering and leaving the underground city must verify their ID card and professional certificate. After all, the working environment on the surface is bad, and many men want to extend their vacation indefinitely, hide in the underground city to enjoy themselves, and avoid labor in extreme weather. Recently, I have received countless photos and resumes from young men. One is because I am now worth a lot of money, and I will have endless cattle, sheep and vegetables to eat with you. The second is because I am a herder, and if you marry me, you can stay in the underground city to produce and work. It is much easier than wearing heavy cold weather clothes and working hard all day in the weather of minus 60 degrees. I didn't even look at these cowards who proposed marriage. I was a little angry with Liu Feng. He didn't know anything about this. Otherwise, how did this love letter get in? Liu Feng is now rising step by step. As the general manager of the underground city, he is a beautiful scenery wherever he goes. Many women like him. I know. Just like now, when he walked to my house, many women blatantly flirted with him along the way, and until he entered my house, there were women who called him to come over for dinner later. Oh, you are really good people. I lazily fell on the sofa and snorted coldly. The weather was so cold that I was breathing heavily when I spoke. I couldn't help but put on another blanket. He kindly went over and poured me a cup of hot water. Your period, is it coming? That one? Which one? I suddenly thought of my period and my face turned red. How did you know? He was even more shy than me. His whole face was like a cooked shrimp, almost steaming. When you were taking care of me before, I would feel uncomfortable around this date. I took advantage of today when I was not so busy and went to exchange a hot water bag with someone. You can stick a few more on your body. I pursed my lips and couldn't help but smile. I didn't expect this man to remember these things in his busy schedule. Thank you. It's okay. Here's some brown sugar. Huh. I saw him running out with a few pieces of brown sugar in his hand and couldn't help laughing. Is he shy? I don't know if it was because of the hot water bag or the brown sugar, but I didn't feel any pain. 3 days later, I was a healthy man again. People are greedy at this time, and since my family has the conditions, I naturally planned to sneak up and take some snacks I had stored before. When I went out to pass the checkpoint, the staff on duty were very enthusiastic. They were the first batch of people to dig and build the underground city. When they were competing with the god of death to build the underground city, the overloaded labor caused certain damage to their bodies. The state gave priority to them to work in the underground city, which was considered compensation and care. These people ate my family's food and cattle and sheep during the most difficult days, and my father even gave them homemade wine to keep them warm. Seeing that I was going to go up, they all advised, Shen Shen, if you want to get something, why don't you tell one of the brothers? You have to go up by yourself. It's colder outside than last year, the average temperature is minus 55, you're a girl, you'll catch a cold soon. I said indifferently, I'll go home to get something, it's in my warehouse. My underground pasture leads directly to the courtyard on the surface of my house. That's also my family's private warehouse. Some grass and meat that are afraid of spoiling are piled in the warehouse, and I go up to get them when I need them. I have to be proud, how can I let these big brothers help me get snacks from the ground? Not to mention that I have to take the cans I stored for my big orange. I could only say generously, women in our pastoral area are as tough as men. Don't worry, I've taken precautions. When the checkpoint elder brother let us go, he said, hey, those men who sneaked back are really worse than little girls. The extreme cold weather will eventually pass. It's embarrassing to be on the blacklist. No matter what you do in the future, it will be a black history. I pulled the single-person transport vehicle and sat on the elevator to slowly rise to the surface. On the gate of my yard, there is a sign for supplying herders. The snow at the door is regularly cleared by the staff outside driving the snow removal vehicle. I successfully unlocked the door and entered the yard. I found the cans of daji from my warehouse, my snacks, and some frozen meat and put them in the car, which made me look more serious for going out in the wind and snow. On the way back, the elevator went down all the way and the temperature gradually rose. At the innermost checkpoint, I took off my extreme cold clothes and put them on the handcart. I said hello to the elder brothers on duty at the checkpoint and prepared to go home. Suddenly, someone shouted, "Stop, why are you stealing? Hand it over quickly." People with bad records are never allowed to enter the underground city and must participate in surface work. I saw the back of a girl holding a few cat cans in her hand. While running, she couldn't wait to open the iron ring and stuff the cans into her mouth. She ate in a mess, with soup all over her body and mouth. Due to the temperature changes from too cold to too hot, the plastic film on the can has long fallen off. But doesn't she feel fishy when she eats it? I couldn't help but frown. Such a young girl, it's not worth it to get a bad record for a few cat cans and pay for her whole life. I kindly took out 2 bags of biscuits and called the girl, "Beauty, you have cat cans, can I exchange biscuits with you? That can is not suitable for human consumption, it's too fishy. If you run again, the nature will change. Come back and I'll give you the biscuits." The girl stopped, turned her head and looked at me who had just taken off the extreme cold clothes. Her eyes became more and more resentful. "Shen Shen, it's you. You bitch. How did I offend her?" She ate the canned food of my big orange, but it was not given to her by me. She stole it by mistake. The girl's face was pale, and she was as thin as a skeleton, without any beauty. Seeing her sickly look, I didn't care who she was anymore, and simply said to the big brother at the card point, "Forget it, a few cat cans, my big orange won't come to report the theft, just give it to her." I originally thought that I would just let it go, but what happened next surprised me. Liang Haiba's mother suddenly rushed out, grabbed the girl's hair, and slapped her twice skillfully. "You got food, but you didn't know how to take it home, and you ate it all by yourself. I'm going to beat you to death, you bitch. You bitch, you're not good for your husband at all. Because of you, my highball has offended the daughter of a wealthy family. Is she Yan Jiaojiao? In my memory, Yan Jiaojiao is a delicate and beautiful girl. Her parents run a company. She has a good family background and always looks down on people like us from small places. How did she become like this? Besides, women and children who stayed in the underground city, even if they didn't have jobs, the state would allocate rations per person, so why would they eat cat food? I never dreamed that a few cat cans could cause such a big mess. A figure flashed in the dark, and I suddenly saw Liang Haibo. The person at the checkpoint obviously knew Liang Haibo, and immediately shouted with a loudspeaker, Liang Haibo, your vacation has already ended. Your transportation team is looking for you to return to work. If you don't go back, you will be treated as absent from work. As soon as the loudspeaker sounded, all the underground staff gathered immediately. I crossed my arms and watched the fun, and then I understood. No wonder her family didn't have enough food. The rations of 2 women might not be enough for him, a strong man. Liang Haibo was caught and saw me. He pointed at me and shouted, Shen Shen is my fiancé. We were supposed to get married in February this year. I am a herdsman's family member and I am eligible to stay in the underground city to graze. Yan Jiaojiao, whose face was swollen after being beaten by Liao's mother, rushed to Liang Haibo like crazy. How did you promise to my parents to treat me well? You spent all the dowry my father gave me, and now you are blatantly abandoning me. Liang Haibo tilted his neck and cursed, Bah, you bitch, don't think I don't know what you did behind my back. You let others touch you for 2 steamed buns. You are a dirty bitch who doesn't deserve to be a Liang family wife. Yan Jiaojiao fiercely hit Liang Haibo's chest. I am cheap. You and your mother smelled delicious when you ate the steamed buns. You cheated all my family's money and spent it. You actually treated me like this. I will fight you. It's miserable, so miserable. I couldn't bear to see this, and I kept persuading the big brother at the checkpoint. Liang Haibo left his post without reason, and the unit will naturally deal with it. He has something going on at home now, so he doesn't need to wait a while. I took out a few bags of pickled pepper chicken feet from the snack cart, and stuffed them into the hands of the person who grabbed Yan Jiaojiao and stopped them from fighting. We gnawed chicken feet and watched Yan Jiaojiao kicking and biting the captured Liang Haibo. Liao's mother rushed up to protect her son like a wounded tigress, but was knocked aside by the completely crazy Yan Jiaojiao and couldn't get up at all. The staff at the checkpoint are responsible for checking the identities of people entering and leaving, and they are not law enforcement officers. When the law enforcement officers arrived, they expelled Liang Haibo from the underground city first. The middle-aged man violated the work arrangement and extended his vacation without reason, so he had to go back to his original unit to do the most difficult work. As for Liao's mother, she was malnourished for a long time, and she was old and weak, so she was beaten by Yan Jiaojiao and sent directly to the hospital. Yan Jiaojiao and Liao's mother were fighting each other, and Liao's mother was the one at fault. The law enforcement officers criticized and educated Yan Jiaojiao, and then locked her up for 15 days as a punishment. I brought some fruits and milk and went to visit the imprisoned Yan Jiaojiao. Hey, you came here to laugh at me? I didn't say anything and put the things down. Liao's mother is dead. No one will deduct your food rations anymore. She was stunned for a long time and didn't speak for a long time. Wow. The old witch is finally dead. I don't have to live a life that is neither human nor dog anymore. Yan Jiaojiao lay on the table and cried loudly. I pushed the milk I brought to her and said, it's fresh milk that I just squeezed this morning. I added sugar when I cooked it because I was afraid you wouldn't be used to it. I don't mean to laugh at you. Thank you for getting rid of harm for the people. I've wanted to beat that old witch for a long time. I looked at Yan Jiaojiao, whose face had turned a little red after being detained for 10 days, and asked sympathetically, where are your family members? I have a good relationship with the people at the checkpoint. If you are separated, I can help you find out. Yan Jiaojiao shook her head and said, Liang Haibo lied to my father, saying that he had relatives who were farming abroad. He used the excuse of making connections to arrange for us to go abroad together, and cheated my parents of all their money. My parents died in that extremely cold winter. If the old witch Liang hadn't died, I would have gone to find them this winter. I put down the food I brought. The creature said, this kind of horrible weather will pass sooner or later. If you live well, you can wait for the spring when the flowers bloom. Yan Jiaojiao broke down and cried, I want to divorce Liang Haibo, but our flash marriage was registered on the surface. Now, the marriage registration office in the underground city can't find the record of our marriage. I want to leave that blood-sucking devil. I laughed disdainfully, you are stupid. Just because the marriage relationship can't be found, Liang Haibo pretends to be an unmarried young man and thinks I am easy to fool. You are naturally single. Live well after you get out. When the climate is suitable, I will invite you to our pasture. There will be plenty of cheese and endless hand-pulled lamb. I don't know why, I can't hate her at all. Maybe I hated her before, but after having Liu Feng, I don't hate her. I just pity her. Chen Shen, I'm sorry. She cried and kept apologizing to me. Repent. I said it's okay countless times. This extremely cold climate lasted for 3 years. The latest space station sent back a signal that a group of meteor fragments floating between the Earth and the Sun were smashed by a meteor that suddenly broke in. After another explosion, many fragments lost their gravity and were sucked into the boundless black hole.